this May 16th meeting of the Development Review Board to order. This evening, we have present, introducing board members from my right here, with Abby.
Hi, Abby White.
And on our Zoom platform, we have Jean Leon.
Hello, everyone.
Michael Lazorchik.
Hello again.
And Claire Rock.
Hello.
Okay, which gives us a number of 5, which is a quorum for this evening. So we can proceed. I will turn this over briefly to Meredith for an overview of our remote meeting procedures and related questions.
Okay. Oh, and you know what? I'm going to do our backup recording. Give me just a second. Our Zoom recording backup from
recording in progress.
Give me 1 second. I got to go adjust what we're seeing on the screen.
Alrighty.
Okay, so I am going to share my screen for anybody watching at home via ORCA Media. Okay, so anyone who is viewing tonight's Development Review Board meeting via ORCA Media, you can participate in the meeting via the Zoom platform using this link here and type that into your web browser, or you can call into the meeting using this phone number and meeting ID number. If anyone is having problems accessing the meeting, please email me at mcrandall@montpelier-vt.org, and I will do my best to help you get in. I don't think John's done this before. We don't have any members of the public on, but just in case somebody from watching at home decides to log in, if you do get on via Zoom, turning on your video is optional, and we ask that everyone attending please keep your microphone on mute when you're not speaking. This will reduce background noise. If somebody does log in, when I see you log in, when there's a good break, we'll check and confirm who you are. We're assuming that you're going to want to speak on the only application that's on the meeting tonight. Alrighty, I'm just going to skip on through this stuff and just remind everyone that in the event the public is unable to access the meeting and I'd get notified via email and trying to get them logged in, the meeting will have to be continued to a time and place certain. All right, I'm going to hand this back over to Rob.
Okay, thank you, Meredith. So with that, I will accept a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Abby.
I'll second.
Second by Jean. Okay, Abby, how do you vote?
Yes.
Claire, how do you vote?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Rob, myself votes yes. We have an agenda. Yeah, we'll keep it brief. I have no real substantive comments this evening. We will discuss at the end. I did just receive notice that we likely will not have a meeting on the 1st of June, or the first meeting in June 6th. So that's news for us. And with that, we have to approve the minutes from April 4th meeting. However, it doesn't appear that we have the right amount of people that were in attendance at that meeting, so we will wait. Like, since we don't have a meeting next month, should we just approve them?
It's okay. I mean, it's just the minutes. The draft ones are up on the website and the videos on the website. So anybody who's really nitpicky about it, it's not, they have a way to find out what happened at the meeting. I think we can wait to approve it until you've got.
We'll wait to approve it until we have a quorum of those that were present. Okay, so on to the main item of the evening. We have an application for sketch plan, a subdivision at 579 Galson Hill Road. And I believe, John, we have one individual here to present on the application. Meredith, do you want to give a very brief overview here before turning it over to John?
Yeah, I'm going to keep this really simple. So the application is for subdivision of a parcel on Gallison Hill Road into 3 parcels. Almost, I think maybe we've had one of those since these regs took effect, but they may have all been 2 parcel subdivisions so far. So this one's slightly different than what we've been dealing with before, but very, very similar. It's a fairly simple subdivision. It's a little different in that your more developable portions of the 2 kind of new quasi-vacant parcels is more kind of, it sort of wraps around the parcel that's going to be left with the current single-family home. So there's a few little bits in red in the staff report about some items linked to that, but it's really, it doesn't seem horribly complex compared to what these regulations were originally drafted for, which is more of your large typical, what people think of as a subdivision with new roads and big development. That's not what this is. It's just going to be 3 parcels. And you can take a look in the staff report for where I see there might be some additional information for the final application, but there's not a whole lot of that either. That's what I got.
Alrighty. Okay, well, I believe we have John on here from DeWolf Engineering, so we'll just turn it right to you to give us a little summary of what's going on here.
Okay. Do you mind if I share my screen, folks?
That would be great.
Okay. Um, let's see. Let's look overview here. So this is a orthophoto background showing the parcel kind of in with Gallison Hill Road. This is going downhill, and it's going downhill fairly steeply in this area. But this is the parcel overall. And it is in residential 9,000. So there could be significantly, I mean, if you just look at it area-wise, there could be significantly more lots, but it is, fairly steep terrain, and, more lots would require building a roadway and other things. So the property owners were looking for a simple way to subdivide the property. The current intent is for them to retain parcel A, build a new home for themselves. And this is an existing barn behind the existing home, and they wanted to retain that existing barn. So they would retain parcel A, sell the existing home on parcel C, and sell undeveloped the 3rd parcel for sale, just to reap a little reward here in selling a vacant parcel. We'll note that there is a natural community layer that I've discussed with Meredith that's just encroaches slightly on this extreme. Barn was 10 feet from the parcel line, or from the proposed parcel lines.
This is going to sound really awful, but I just checked in the packets that were prepped for me, and I don't actually have my staff report in front of me.
Oh.
I have to pull it up on screen. So I don't know what I said in the staff report right
Well,
now, because I don't know.
Anyways, always take everything I say with a grain of salt, first off. But anyway, the parcel lines are set up such that this building is more than 15 feet.
Okay.
So this, I am showing a 15-foot setback line here. And then that brings up the other subject matter, which was in this district, the front setback is 20 feet, 20 feet, 20 feet. The side setbacks are 15, 15, 15, and the rear is 30. So if we look at parcel C, I'm showing 20 feet here, 15 feet on the sides, and 30 feet on the rear line. And that line is set such that it is exactly 30 feet from the house. And you see that like there's a existing like porch and stair structure which does encroach into that, and it's my understanding that that's allowed. But then this is the setback that Meredith, I guess, wanted to bring to you folks' attention, and that I am showing 15 feet here. And the question is should that be 15 as a side setback, or should that be 20 feet as a extension of the front setback? I think you referred to it possibly as.
Yeah, and it's sort of a point for the board to weigh here. And
Sure.
where you're getting that 10 feet from is, so here's the issue. So when you first drafted this, and when we first discussed about the subdivision,
Mhm.
the side setbacks for Res 9000 were 15 feet. They just got changed effective May 5th. Side setbacks in Res 9 are now 10 feet.
Oh,
So that's why in the staff report, I evaluated this application, even though it came in between when both the old regs and these ones that were just adopted were supposed to be reviewed. I reviewed it all under the new regs because that's what will apply for the final application. So all the side setback boundaries can be adjusted in the final application to 10 feet.
thank you for explaining to me.
Yep. It took me a minute to catch up to what was going on. But I mean, we still have, like you said, these little jags here. It's an issue with the way the front setback is measured. It's measured in reference to the front yard. And technically, neither of these parcels have a front yard because front yard is defined as in front of the front line of the house, of the primary structure.
Right.
So, I mean, that would be all of this.
Right, well, and really, technically, there's no primary structure really on that parcel at all right now,
Right now, correct?
right? So it seems weird to have, it seems like it could be odd to have something way back here have to meet the front setback when it's nowhere near a road.
Right, and
So this is
then
the
I guess that
question.
goes to what was the intent of a front setback? Is it to,
Right.
protect something from encroaching on the roadway? If that's the case, it seems like it wouldn't be germane or sensible to apply the front setback to this line, which is like 100 feet or more back from the road.
And that's going to what's the purpose of the front yard, front setback. Part of it is also to have a sort of a neighborhood development that is consistent so that you don't have all of these houses some way up front, some way, to make sure that they aren't pushing right up close to the road, that you do have some level of front yard. And so when the regulations were rewritten in 2018, the different districts were actually surveyed to try and come up with setback requirements where at least, I want to say it was 75 to 80% of the parcels existing in that district would meet the setbacks. So allowing, having this little stretch and the little stretches in the back behind parcel C have a 10 or 15 foot setback allowance isn't gonna somehow make them vary greatly from a bunch of other parcels in the neighborhood.
Right, and I mean, one thing is, it would effectively make it so that you couldn't subdivide it as is, because we couldn't maintain 30 feet plus 20 feet. And then, and separate those two structures onto two separate parcels. If this were to be called a 20-foot setback, because I've only got 46 feet between the two buildings.
Well, what do you think, John? Do you think that you could have a side setback, given that it's an interior line to a new subdivision, for that rear line of lot Is that lot B?
Well, yeah, it's B and, wait, so the front here, B and A,
Yeah.
would both be sort of the sides when they're there behind C.
Right.
That's what he's proposing.
Yeah. So would you have a rear setback on one side of the line and a side setback on the other, or would they both be sides? So like for
I'm
the,
confused.
so parcel C, you have a setback, between the house and the property line.
Yep.
Would that be rear yard or would that be side yard?
This I'm showing is 30, assuming that that's the rear
Yeah.
line for this parcel. So
And then
that's 30 feet setback there.
And then the
What
other
I'm
side of the
showing.
line, I guess what's
Yep.
combination of what you're saying in the staff report, we're saying would be 10 feet because it doesn't really make sense to do a front yard setback if there's not a road, given that the regs sort of define the front yard setback as so many feet from the road. I mean, it makes sense to me. I think that.
That makes sense.
Or
to me,
Jean or
too.
Michael, do you have any thoughts on this?
I'm carefully examining this. I mean, the setbacks look okay to me as on the sketch. Now, that barn's gonna remain, correct? And the potentially future development will be right behind it, as far as
Correct. Yes, this is the existing barn, which they would like to maintain.
Okay.
And they would like, you can see this, a more level area of the lot here than like steep slope out front, where they intend to build a new home. On this lot, there's like ample room to, build a structure. You could put one there, you could put one here, there's a lot of developable area on parcel B.
Right. Well, I'm not seeing any objections, John, here from the board as far as like how you have it proposed with, how you have it proposed with the sort of addition of the, measurements in the new regs for the side yard
Right.
setback. So I don't think we have an issue there unless.
Okay.
Can I ask one question? I don't have an issue. I think it makes sense. I was just curious, John, did you consider just a 2-parcel subdivision, or is it just complicated by the fact that they want to maintain that what's essentially parcel C to sell that off as a separate house, and you would just come up with too bizarre of a parcel format?
We considered a number of configurations, and the owners settled on 3 lots because it would be a good. First off, they wanted to maintain the barn and build a new home. Second, they wanted to get some income so that they could roll that into developing the home site for themselves, and make a little extra money. And to only 2 lots would minimize their gain. And then they ideally would have liked to have done 4 or 5 lots, but then they would have to basically we couldn't do it without building a road, and that would be more upfront cost for them. So the 3 lots seem to be the threading the needle for them, and as far as how they wanted to develop the property. And the 3 driveways all meet the standards, meet the separations between the existing driveways and the proposed driveways. Each lot would have their own utility connections, so there would be no shared utilities or driveways, making the lots less complicated and therefore hopefully more marketable.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's a good compromise. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I guess you mentioned the shared driveways and the spacing, which, I don't want to come off as having any opinions either way on this, but just to make sure that we're checking the boxes in the, in the regs here. It seems like there's a leaning of language in the regs for us to sort of encourage shared access, driveways and minimize the curb cuts onto arterial streets. Maybe you don't have too much information on that now if you didn't get too much time to review the staff report. It just seems like, maybe some sort of analysis as to, shared driveway versus not shared driveway, extra curb cut on the street, might be worth, pulling together, for the final application.
Okay.
Unless you have any more info on that now. Just kind of, if you want to pull it up and discuss it now, we can, but if you feel like you're not prepared, that's okay too.
Yeah, I guess that I would prefer to review the regs and respond if that's
okay. Yeah, it seems like an issue that's one of those things where it's like we're stuck between regs written for like a 20 lot subdivision, and a 3 lot subdivision, and at what aspects of that on this scale do we adhere to, and what just doesn't make sense. And I think that during the final application we'd be sort of just like looking for that analysis as the regs are written there.
understood.
Makes sense.
Are there more? Should I continue sharing my screen, or should do more questions or comments wanting to talk about this plan that I have in front of me here?
Just so you know, I think Mary just came onto the meeting.
Okay.
I just let her in. Hi, Mary.
Hi.
Hi. So we have John on from DeWolf, and he's been giving a presentation to the board on your project.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry I tried to go in with a link from the email that was sent to me, and I was able to get in through your email finally.
Okay.
So I'm sorry I'm late.
That's okay. It's okay. We're glad you're here now.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So John, did you have any more of your presentation? Sorry, we kind of jumped back and forth, but we think we took care of the two of the major issues in the staff report, and you can keep going if you'd like, or we can just.
No, I think that pretty well sums up what the Gomes family wishes to do with the property, the 3 lot subdivision with separate utilities, and I don't think that I have anything else to add. I think that I have reviewed Meredith's staff report and will respond in the final application to all the areas she's highlighted, requesting further information on. But if you don't have any, if the board doesn't have any more questions, I think I'm all set, but I'm happy to answer any additional questions if there are any.
It looks like Claire has her hand raised.
Hi, Claire.
Hi. Thank you for sharing your screen and then sharing the information. I guess I just wanted to kind of echo some of the board's discussion regarding the setback there with the barn, and do agree that it makes the most sense to consider that a side yard setback rather than a front yard setback. The other area, I guess that was already kind of identified, was like the number of driveways in that short span of the road there. And I guess just seeking some confirmation on that there would be, I guess, the house currently appears to have like a horseshoe driveway, and just confirming that other kind of where the horseshoe would kind of come out on the lower side of the hill, that would be abandoned, and just confirming it kind of looks like maybe that was an old garage, but maybe it's a porch now. And so I just wanted to get some confirmation that the other half of that driveway would be abandoned, and kind of what the plans were around kind of reverting that, so there wouldn't be any kind of confusion there.
Sure. Yes. So you're correct. This is kind of a horseshoe shaped. I believe that this like gray shaded area is pavement, but then this is gravel here. And if you look at the contours, this existing driveway is very steep. As it goes down here, and it's steep and narrow, and according to Mary, the owner, that they basically only use that as a one-way out now. But yes, the intent would be for this not to be shared, because they would, in order to make the new drive to this lot work, there would be some fairly extensive earthwork required to make a new drive, which meets the B71 V-Trans driveway standard. Coming back off the road at the proper slopes, and then having a much gentler grade than that existing drive, which is why I'm showing it kind of looping around to the side to develop some length to have a better grade on the driveway. But anyways, to answer your question, yes, I've discussed with Mary like abandoning this portion of the existing loop road, and then just making sort of turning this into a hammerhead instead, so that you could pull in, back around, and then go back out the same driveway. And so again, what that would end up having is that each property has its own driveway. You don't have to consider who's paying for plowing, who's paying for maintenance. Everybody would be responsible for their own driveways, and they wouldn't have to worry about coming to agreement on cost sharing of maintenance.
Thank you.
John, the driveway for lot C would probably be similar to the one on lot B. Like, is that what you mean by hammerhead?
Yes. So like,
Okay.
yes. So this, it would come up, and I'm showing like abandoning the gravel at this point, and then adding, gravel here, so that it would be a hammerhead shape. So you could pull in forward that way, back up that way, and then drive out, or vice versa. Pull in here, back up there, and then go back out the existing driveway.
Thanks.
Similar to this kind of, all of them I'm showing is not a lot of variety there, is there? We're all looking at different hammerhead configurations.
Right. What are the, just point out sort of like the utility connections, or I guess you have a.
Yeah, so, in considering and this is, what am I trying? These are conceptual, nobody's necessarily proposing these locations and utility connections, but if you were to put, and that's a fairly large footprint house, if you were to put a house here, you could have gravity sewer connected to the existing sewer main in the street, and and a sewer and a water line, which would meet the separation distances between the sewer and the water service lines. Similarly, over here, you could put a house here and have a gravity sewer line connected to the existing sewer main and your own private water service to the municipal line, which would meet the separation requirements between those utilities. And, it would meet all the city and state requirements for the utility locations. And you wouldn't have to have pump stations or in any of the properties.
Yeah, I mean, the one kind of piece of the regs that has come up, and I guess you'll see it in the staff report, is the requirement for underground electric lines.
Yes, and I'm not showing those, but yeah, that certainly can be done. Trying to see where the power.
Looks like you got.
I
Here, there's a utility pole here. So the utilities are on this side of this.
Oh, okay. Yep.
This side of the street.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't show the overhead, but that there is overhead utility there, and so I would imagine that they would come off of this. It would be very easy to come off of this pole for this lot.
Yeah.
And this lot would probably come off of this pole and come up the right of way a bit, and before it then came up probably parallel to the water line.
It's like the time we found that it'd be kind of a, an issue is when it's on the other side of the street, and we've tried to shy away from, boring underneath the street.
Right.
Satisfy
Right.
that. So I think you should be good there.
Yes, they're fortunate here in that it is on their side of the street.
Yeah. That's all I have. I think that there's some comments in there that, we don't necessarily need to get through everything. You're gonna, review it and come back with a, complete application at some point. Board members have any other questions or comments or topics of discussion?
This will be, so the Conservation Commission is gonna look at this as well?
Yes. So that's, I believe it's on their agenda for their meeting this week, next week. It's,
Yeah.
I put it in the staff report when their standard meeting is. And so this has been forwarded to them. They couldn't hold a special meeting to review it before tonight's meeting here for the Development Review Board. So they will be reviewing this sketch plan application and giving their comments on it. And I think the plan is to go forward from there based on what their comments are. If they don't feel like they need to see it again when it comes back for final, as long as the same concept, the same general plan is used for the final application, then we'll go from there. I haven't gotten official comments from them outside of what's in the packet about them having a tentative identification of what this natural area is, this natural community is. And so we'll learn more before the applicant and I will learn more after the Conservation Commission meets.
Sounds like a good plan.
If I can just add one more thing, I didn't have this plan up when I discussed it previously, but you can see that the area where the natural community intersects with the property is in this like really acute angle, which is completely within the setback line, and it's a super steep area, so there is no reason for the owner or the potential owner of this property to ever do anything there, because there's really nothing you can do with that portion of the lot. That's all I wanted to add.
Thanks, John.
This is Claire. I was just looking over Meredith's staff report and the mention of a landscaping plan, and I guess I would just throw out there the suggestion for consideration of retaining vegetation along Gallison Hill. So as you're kind of coming up the road, it looks like there's some larger trees in the area of some of the proposed driveways, and just putting it out there as far as kind of consideration of either a landscaping plan for screening or kind of maintenance of any of that kind of mature vegetation that are on those sites.
That's a good comment, Claire. Thank you. Well, without any further questions, I guess we could.
John, could you stop your share screen just so that we can make sure I can see everybody all at once to make sure there aren't any other questions? Thank you. It just makes it a little easier. That we can also make sure, see if Mary wanted to say anything in closing as well.
Yeah. Mary, do you have anything you would like to add?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Alrighty. Thank you for coming out.
Well, thank
Cheers.
you. I'm sorry again that I got here so late. I kept drawing and finally it dawned on me to go to Meredith's email.
I guess this is why there's two meetings. You get one to practice, and then the real one on the record is the next time around. So we'll be good.
All right, great. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think that's it. I don't know that we need to close any hearings or anything like that because we're not on the record.
Right. Well, so John and Mary, you'll get a copy of the minutes from tonight's meeting. That's sort of your report from the sketch plan. And if you would like to, we can also set a meeting to discuss. But I think that the staff report probably does a pretty good layout of what should go into the final application and then what you heard tonight. So if you want to meet with me between now and submitting the final application, you can. If you don't feel like you need to, you don't have to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Meredith, and thank you all.
Can I ask one quick question before
Sure.
the applicant jumps off? And this is from Meredith on 3506E, the utility services.
Yep.
Because I'm guessing. Well, I mean, I don't want to guess, but I'm presuming they're not going to put an underground conduit if they don't need primary underground. Like if they can just pull secondary off the poles, then I just want to make sure we're keep telling the applicant the right information, because I don't want them digging trenches and putting in conduit for underground electric service that they may not need.
Yep.
So-
No, and that's that's one of the, thank you, Michael. So this is one of those provisions, and this is for John and Mary to know as well. When we've had these small subdivision applications, it's the board has a history of saying that you don't necessarily have to run the lines underground the entire way. And usually that has more to do with running from across the street. But here with, especially with some of the slopes you've got on parcel A, it might be worth just looking at it, like I said in the staff report, to investigate, to see what kind of, distance and how far underground you would need to go. And what that price comparison is, and whether there's, if there's any notice of ledge in there, things like that, to make the case that running even those individual connectors underground just doesn't make sense to run them a long way. But, just investigate it a little bit, reach out to the utility company, and see what they're what the price differential is. Because in some cases it's easier, in some cases it's not, especially with that really sloped parcel. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yes.
I can assist Mary in deciding how to develop that.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's that 3506E1 that's a little has been a little troublesome along the last couple of years for subdivisions. So the more information you can provide, the better.
All right. Thank
Alrighty.
you.
Thank you very much. So board members, I guess we have no meeting on June 6th. And so our next regularly scheduled meeting would be on the
Sorry, I didn't write it down on here.
the 20th.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Monday, June 20th would be the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Did you,
Okay.
before
We gotta
the
do a
board
adjournment.
adjourned, did you want
I'll
to
discuss the
discuss in-person versus remote discussion? So just John and Mary,
Yeah.
you can sign off at this point unless you had any further questions for the board.
All
They're
set.
gonna deal with some sort of administrative stuff first before they adjourn.
All right, thank you.
See you later, folks. Thank you much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Um,
It can just be sort of an informal
yeah,
poll.
we could have an informal discussion. What do folks think with kind of this in-person format? I guess maybe I could jumpstart the discussion. As a chairperson, I will say that it's much easier to have everyone here in person, not be doing this hybrid format. But on the other hand, I also understand that folks have various commitments and whatnot that make it much easier to be in attendance and us easier to get a quorum if folks have a remote option. And so that's kind of like where I'm at on where we're moving forward with this. And also COVID rates are still pretty high, so I don't want to make anyone come if they don't feel comfortable either. But those are my thoughts. I'm interested in yours as we move forward. If any changes need to be made to our process, and what do folks think?
I can jump in. I think that with the rates in Washington County high, I think it's probably smart to keep hybrid as an option so that people can feel as safe as possible. If and when it drops down to medium or down to low, then I think I'm open to being in person.
Well, and I mean, just to throw this out here, my first thought would be to try to transition board members to more in person before trying to take away the standard Zoom option. We haven't polled, the thought was that once we got a sense of where board members were leaning, and Kate, rates and hospitalizations went down again a little bit, we would be polling a bunch of the applicants we've had over the last couple of years to see what they would be comfortable with, and what they liked or didn't like about the hybrid, so that we would get some information from our applicants before we made any real final decisions on how we were going to go. But we definitely wanted to have the discussion with board members first.
Right.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just too convenient to be remotely, but when I'm told to come in, I'll come in. I'm not that concerned about, all due respect to everybody else, I'm not that concerned about the COVID thing. I'll get the other booster, and I'm going to assume that no one's going to show up with symptoms. I'm just going to trust everyone else. But yeah, it's just too easy for me to roll straight from work into the online thing and go home. So
Same here. I feel the same. I mean, if I have to come in person, I will. I mean, no sweat, easy. But I have a double screen here. I have one screen with all the regs and the agendas. It's just a convenience for me right now. And if I would have had to go in today, I would have been late. So coming home and turning on my, having it right there pop up my screen was just I also need to get a new laptop, if I'm going to come in person. But that's just personal conveniences. But if I have to come in for sure, definitely. I mean, I don't mind. Just got to adjust. You got used to this.
Yeah, I mean, I think, part of it, it's what type of application and what's the agenda like, if like there's, 20 people in the room, public commenting, and another 20 online, and it's a contentious thing, like, I think it would I were running the meeting, it'd be a lot easier to have a quorum of board members, in the room to keep things moving. But a meeting like tonight, obviously, it's like, well, yeah, like I'm very much, okay with doing it this way. It's no big, it's no big deal. So, I don't know. That's just information to consider, depending on the application of what's easier for, for me and what I think sort of makes things run a little bit smoother.
Well, and the other thing to think about is that deliberative sessions, if we're trying to do private deliberative discussions, that gets really tricky because we have to get rid of ORCA and all be on one laptop to continue to do the Zoom, anybody who's here in person. So, if we continue the hybrid option to make deliberations easier, it's a question of whether or not we want to start doing those deliberations in public, motions or not. If that would be a way to smooth that aspect out, at least for the non really controversial ones. I don't know. It's like you said, it's sort of a balance between the easier applications and the more contentious applications. Potentially.
Yeah.
We'll see. Any thoughts, Claire?
I am of similar mind to my other virtual colleagues, but also understand, that it does help kind of facilitate an easier discussion when people are in public. I am an alternate, so I don't come as often as you all do, but I'm happy to do what the majority of the board feels is best for the process. And it did also, as a side note, I was just looking on the website and I did see, I think my term is up this month.
Is it this month? Oh,
I think it's in May of 22.
Okay.
And I guess if it is the case, I'm happy to stay on as an alternate with the recognition that I do have other work commitments where I'm not able to kind of come all the time. But I'm happy to continue unless you feel like you would like a more active alternate.
Thank you for looking that up, Claire. I need to put in my reminders for everybody. Who else? Is there anybody else on there whose term is up as in May?
Yeah, my term in Claire's expired May 1st.
They expired May
Oh,
1st?
so did mine.
Term expires May 1st, 2022.
So did mine. Mary.
Okay, and Jean.
I guess it was good thing we weren't making a decision tonight.
Yeah, it's a really good thing. So we've had stuff like this happen before. It's okay. But yeah, it's a good thing. Sorry about that. It's just one of those. All right, so yeah, if the three of you are interested in continuing, we'll need new applications. Good thing we don't have a meeting June 6th. All right. So Claire, Rob,
Send the application.
Jean, and I will also double check that actually matches my chart. It should. So that was just my not having the reminder set in my calendar. I will send out an email with the link to the application to get reappointed.
Do we still have vacancies?
One, yes.
Yeah, we still
have
have one
one
vacancy.
vacancy?
Yep.
Okay.
We have one vacancy for a regular seat. And the hope is to maybe try and find somebody comfortable taking one of a leadership spot if possible. I know that because we're gonna have to re-elect chair and vice chair in August. And Rob took it and Kevin actually took his spot sort of we couldn't get anybody else to take the spots. So everybody's gonna need to sort of have a little discussion again about the chair, vice chair positions. And if anyone has anyone that they think might be interested in serving on the board, feel free to give them, email them, copy me, do an introduction. I'm happy to give them a little rundown. And that's not just, so the DRB has one vacancy, Design Review Committee has 2 vacancies. The Historic Preservation Commission has like 3 vacancies. So anybody that might have some extra time on their hands, send them my way, please. Or just, civic mindedness with no outlet for it. Please send them my way.
Extra time with
Yeah. You should do something like, don't just comment on Front Porch Forum.
Yeah.
What's the good, like, just go to like once a month only,
Go to once a month.
takes that much longer to get applications. We'll go to 2 months a month, but if we don't go on board, it's like, oh, she's
Yeah.
gonna have to step up. Anyway,
Okay. All right. Looks like I have homework. And everybody else has a little bit of a break. Thank you for giving me some input, giving us all some input on the meeting type. That's appreciated.
absolutely. All right. Does anyone have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So move.
Motion by Gene and second.
I'll second that.
It's Claire.
Second by Claire. I was gonna say it sounded like Catherine for a second. All right. Gene, how do you vote?
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Claire,
Yes.
Abby,
Yes.
and Rob is yes. Meeting is adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Everyone.
Bye.